And now your host of California MUFON Radio, Lorien Fenton.
Welcome, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. I'm your host, Lorien Fenton. I'm really glad you guys are with me here tonight. Oh, my God, what's been going on? Everybody keeps asking. I get the weirdest Facebook requests. People just go, I heard your voice on the radio. You sounded like a nice person. Boy, if I get everybody fooled. Oh, God, I want to thank all of you who said that to me. That's so sweet, Facebook is a weird thing. I don't think I've ever really talked about Facebook much on this show, but Facebook is really odd. And I'll tell you guys my story about Facebook. But before I get to Facebook, I got to tell you guys, I'm still getting blowback from the whole Corey Goode thing. I just want you all to know that there are good things about Facebook and there are bad things about Facebook. And there's this whole thing going on where I'm being attacked as being part of the Dark Alliance. As you guys all know, I was announced in the list of Bill Ryan's people that were like against Corey Goode. I felt kind of proud in the moment, but what it's turned into is people think I don't like Corey Goode. And I have been trying to tell all of you, I don't not like Corey Goode. I don't dislike him. I don't have any problem with him personally. I have no problem at all with him. And hold on a second here. I'm going to try to get my roommate to bring back my drink that I'm not finished with. Thank you. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Anyhow, it's not that I don't like Corey Goode. Personally, I have no problem with the man at all, except for that he dissed me at the MUFON Symposium and didn't show up on the radio show. But, hey, I've tried to get him on the show for 3 years. He won't come on. I don't blame him. He's being advised not to be on my show because, frankly, I'd ask him the tough questions, and people don't want to have the tough questions, when they're in the position that he's in. And I get that, I totally get that. What I don't understand is how people can equate what I say about Corey Goode's, he's being handled, he's being used, and I feel sorry for the guy, personally. This is my whole point to this whole thing. It's not about Corey Goode. It's about the psyops that's being perpetrated against the whole UFO community through Corey Goode, his handlers, and the marketing people that are around him in this whole deal with the TV show. It's basically what has happened is the powers that be, and I figured this out, and so have a lot of other people, the powers that be, the NSA, the MJ-12, the people that run the whole psyops against the UFO community to keep us in the dark like a bunch of mushrooms, have decided that they're going to use Corey Goode to see how far they can control another cult organization through the UFO community. Every time they get a guy like him, they use him to start a whole new movement in the UFO community. And these guys are absolutely duped. I mean, I think they're just brainwashed. I don't know what the problem is, but they absolutely believe they're going to change things. And the reality is they never change anything. They never do anything to change the whole way the UFO community is handled, who runs it. These conference producers that produce these same people over and over and over again because they're making them into something they actually aren't. Like I keep telling you guys, I like Dolan. I mean, as a person, he's caused me problems in the past. But, I've forgiven him as a person. I love his ex-wife, Karen. Her and I are, we see each other at all the conferences. I think she's amazing. His new wife may be amazing too. I don't know. But personally, I have no problem with the guy on that level. He still owes me an apology, but we'll get there someday. And the reality is, though, this guy is a major figure at all the conferences. He's written all these books. He's talked to a few whistleblowers. But he's never seen a UFO or talked to an alien or had an encounter or had a download or had an experience or been saved or, believes in aliens. I mean, and what is this guy doing being at every conference speaking? I don't get it. I really don't get it. And same thing with Stanton Friedman. God bless him. He's been around since the beginning. These people are advocates. I got to say they do their job as that, but they are not experiencers. And I think that's what this whole PSYOPs is about. It's like to see, they already played out the whole thing where the scientific guys and the guys that do the research are now the gurus in the community. And now they're starting to see that I put on, this is just an example I'm throwing at you guys. I put on the first Experiencer conference on the West Coast. There's another group of twins that put one on the East Coast, but I put one on the West Coast. And there were some spooks there. I knew that when I put it on. I could tell. I didn't know who these people were. They acted awfully weird. They said they were experiencers. I doubt it very seriously. I've never seen these people. I have no idea who they were. They don't go to anything. I've never seen them since. And they looked awfully out of place. Let's just put it that way. And they didn't talk the lingo. They had no idea whatever was going on around them. And these guys are supposed to be experiencers, right? So I put on this conference, and it's all about experiencers. I had 12 different people speak, and they have 12 different types of experiences, all the way from evil eating you, like you had to serve man type of experiences, all the way, and killing the aliens, by the way, to benevolent, beautiful, angelic beings like I probably deal with because I've never seen them and they've done nothing but good to me. So they've saved my life more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times now, at least. And so, everything. I ran the whole gamut, and then we did breakout sessions for different types of encounters with different types of psychotherapists and hypnotherapists. And it was a really extraordinary conference. And I think out of that came the whole PSYOPs of, or, not just mine. I mean, I may be blowing my horn here a little bit, but all of the ones that are starting to crop up around being an experiencer, I think they went, ooh, there's a whole new genre, floating to the surface. I think the experiencers are getting a voice. Maybe we better control what their voice is saying. And I think that's what the whole Corey Good thing's all about. And I think that that's where they're heading. They're going to try to control the narrative for the experiencers, just like they control the narrative for the scientific end. And it may be through MUFON and David Davenport's group or Peter Davenport's group or through different types of groups that are out there that they control the narrative from the scientific point of view of UFOs. But now they're heading into the whole unknown world of the experiencer. I don't think they realized the backlash they were going to get. I don't think that they realized that there's too many experiencers that go to these events that deal with this type of subject, that have written that many books, and that understand that his experiences are not that extraordinary. There are people out there that have 10 times more extraordinary experiences than Corey Good. And even if he's had all the experiences he's had, my super soldier dudes have had 10 times more experiences than he. And also, they can remember them. They can remember most of them. And they can remember the horrendous parts of it to the point where they can't function. So, if Corey Good really was having the experiences he was having and those horrible experiences he says he did have, then why is he still talking? Why is he able to function at any level? Because most of the guys I know that have had that, they can't function. And the last thing they want to do is get any fame and fortune around it because it's so horrific. They don't even want to think about it, and they don't want humanity to have to deal with it either, because they're hoping, every one of these guys is hoping that it will end, and they'll do anything they can to make it end. Corey Good's not doing anything he can to make it end. He's just perpetuating the good parts of it, or his story part, or I'm still trying to figure out what he is perpetuating. I don't get why anybody would follow this guy. I mean, from what I heard, he was part of a slave colony of people working and, doing horrific things to children. And, and why would anybody revere that guy? I mean, my guys are ashamed. They're absolutely ashamed to come forward. And here this guy comes forward, and I'm like, what? And, I've had other people that have written books that have mentioned the horrific things that have happened to them on the moon and different places. And if you want to believe them, they'll only write about it. They hardly ever talk about it. And they don't bring it up if they're ever asked to speak anywhere, which most of them aren't. They never bring up the bad stuff. They only bring up the good stuff. But I must say, they do mention the bad stuff in the context of they've got to make it stop. And they really do go out of their way to say that this is an horrific way to use people in in the whole consciousness community. I mean, whatever's going on with the aliens out there, when they do these horrific things, they've got to be stopped. And I just don't know how we're going to do it, you guys. We can't have people like Corey Goode running around saying they're going to change everything when they won't even address it. They won't even talk about it, All they'll do is talk about other people's experience. At least that's what I heard him say at the dang MUFON symposium. Anyhow, I'm getting far afield here and I'm going way off in different tangents. But I just want you to know that it's not the people. It is this whole psyops that's going on around it that I'm getting furious. I can't believe that people can't see what's really happening. So I just hope you guys are aware. That's why I'm saying all this. And, hey, I'll buy Dolan a drink. I'll buy Corey Goode a drink. I'll take him out after, a presentation at any conference, and I'll have a nice chat with them as people. I have no problem with that. What I don't like is people being played into the system and being used to control the narrative of the UFO community on how the NSA wants us. The NSA, this, CIA, everybody's involved, you guys. It isn't one group. It isn't MJ-12 like everybody wants to believe it is. It's all of them. They want to control it. Trust me, they do. This is a huge topic, and it's one of those topics that's gaining speed and it's gaining popularity. And it's all over TV, and they control the narrative on TV. Have you ever noticed that? It's very interesting to me. Anyhow, okay, so that's my beef about that. And I'm tired of all the people on Facebook attacking me for telling it like I see it. I mean, I don't attack anybody else. I don't even attack Corey Goode. I never have. I got on that list only because I said that I don't like the whole psyops thing that's going on with him, not him as a person, and I just, please, everybody stop getting after me on Facebook. I really don't appreciate it. And, maybe this is the end of me on Facebook. And that's what I started the whole show with today. Facebook is a psyops, you guys. It's a giant psyops. People all over Facebook sit there and yammer all day long about everything that's going on in their life. What is the point? I'm going to tell you guys, I've been sick for over a month and a half. No one knew about it on Facebook. No one even knew about it in my family. I dealt with it. I was sick. I dealt with it. I did what I had to do to deal with it. I got a leg infection at the MUFON symposium, and I got home from that, and I ended up in the ER, and I was on all kinds of icky antibiotics and drugs and felt like crapola for 2 weeks, and then I stopped the drugs, and then it came back, and this time with a vengeance. I was really sick for my birthday, and then I threw my back out on my birthday, and and no one even freaking knew except for my back, because there were a bunch of people there when I threw my back out, so they knew I was in absolute agony. But, I don't tell people things. I don't go on Facebook and tell everybody about all my problems. What's the point? Facebook is a psyops. It's there to make you think that you're special and important, and you're not. Not any more important than the next guy next door to you that's going through the same thing every day. Facebook is a sham, and there's no reason to be on it. The only reason I go on it is to promote animal advocacy and things to change the world in the UFO community. And every once in a while, I'll comment on some people's, issues on Facebook. But, I just don't see any reason for it. And I am, another thing, I'm getting kind of tired of all my friends calling me and saying, you don't have a presence on Facebook. You'll never be able to speak at the conferences. You'll never be able to do all these things. You'll never have this. You'll never have that. And I'm thinking, do I really care? See, you ought to ask yourself, every last one of you that is addicted to this freaking Facebook, if it's that important to you. Who's going to be there? It's like I said, in 2010, when I almost died, nobody from Facebook showed up. The only people that showed up to see if I was okay was one of my bosses, very concerned about me, and my lady friend next door. And that was it. There was nobody else. Not even my family came to see how I was. Of course, they're miles and miles and miles away, and they called the doctor every day. But still, the point is, unless someone is going to show up and help you when you're dying, these people, no one came to see me for the 3 months I was recuperating in bed either. So, it really, I don't know. People just, The things they do about Facebook just blows my mind. Okay. Well, I'm done complaining about Facebook now. All right. Now I've got my coffee. I'm feeling a little bit. I do have a slight headache. So if I ramble on about how upset I am about anything, it's probably because of the headache. Maybe I'll take some Advil on the break. That would be a good thing. Okay, I can't even remember what I started the show about. Oh, I did do a little survey and figured out how much I lose every month by doing all my radio shows. Oh, God, you guys, I'm going to have to do something. I can't afford to be losing this much money, and I just got asked to do another show on another network, and I'm thinking about it, but, I'm going to have to do something. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a membership website. My LorienFenton.com website will become a membership site. I've been planning this for a while, but now I'm really going to have to start monetizing it. And I wasn't going to charge much, but now I think I'm going to have to charge at least $3 a month to be able to even start beginning to recuperate what I'm losing and be able to feed the cats. That's important. Got to feed the cats. So anyhow, I'll give you guys more information on that as it starts happening. I think I'm going to start revamping the site within the next week or so. So, I'll keep you posted. Okay, let's see what someone's trying to tell me here in Skype. What's going on? How come I can't see my IM messages? Well, I can't see them. So there you go. So I can't do MJ, can you I know what it is. I can't see Gary. That's what's going on. Okay. My guest tonight, his name is Gary Parker, and I am not sure what Gary has... Gary got a hold of me. Gary, how did you find me? I'm just curious. How did you find out about me?
Well, hi, Lauren, and thank you for letting me be on the show.
You bet. No problem.
Right, that's awesome. You know what? I was actually I was Googling people that I thought would be sensitive to what I'm about to tell you and your listeners about my discovery. And so I went to MUFON, and I saw that you had a podcast, a radio show, and I said, maybe Lauren would be interested. So I emailed you a few things, and you emailed me back and said, hey, yeah, one of my guests isn't showing up on Wednesday. Sure, come on there. I would love to hear your story. So I said, that's great.
Oh, yeah, and I got to let everybody know, Sean David Morton was scheduled to be my guest tonight, but he ended up in prison on the 21st of August. Oh, and so that's that, guys. They finally got to him. So someday when I can get a hold of Sean, I'm going to have him either write us or call us from prison and do a show. We'll work it out. But anyhow, so Sean David Morton is in prison if you hadn't heard about it already. Okay, so go ahead, Gary.
Yes. Do you want me to start in with what happened, what I discovered?
Yeah, please do. And tell us all. Well, first, tell us about yourself.
Oh, I'm just...
And how this all kind of happened to you.
Yes, I actually live in a place called Santan Valley, Arizona. And
okay.
But I'm a real estate developer. And not big. I just build a couple houses a year. And before that, I used to live in Sherman Oaks, California for 30-some
Gary?
years.
Are you a contractor as well? Do you build it yourself, or do you hire out?
No, I hire out. I get the property and then I hire everybody out. So
you're just like my dad. I worked for my dad for years. He was a land developer up in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, that's wild. And also, like I said, when I lived in Los Angeles in Sherman Oaks for the last 30 years, because I've only been out here in Arizona for 4 years, but I was a screenwriter, and I also did some real estate deals, and I was lucky enough to sell some screenplays, and I actually had one movie made. I think it's on Netflix. It's called Thank Heaven, and it stars Jenny McCarthy, as a matter of fact. So,
cool.
So, yeah, it's fun. It was really fun, and I'm still doing it. I still have a couple things in development at a production company there in Hollywood, and it's good. It's good. It's all fun. But what I'm about to tell you will blow you away. I mean, you're going to say, "Oh my God, I can't believe this happened to you." So, go ahead.
Okay, I'm getting ready. We got lots of time, though.
What's that?
I said, I'm getting ready, but we got lots of time, so don't spill it in 2 sentences.
Oh, I won't. It's going to take a little while. But yes, so what happened was about 2 years ago, because I'm always trying to come up with movie ideas and just anything that could be a good story and that I could possibly pitch. Well, I came up with an idea. I thought, well, you know what? How could I be involved with world peace? What could I do to have anything to do with world peace? And I thought to myself, well, you know what? What could bring the world together that would be really fun and interesting. And I thought, what about this? What about restoring the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx in Egypt? You know, Egypt is $284 billion in debt. They have rolling blackouts. And I thought that would boost their economy. I could do a global crowdfunding campaign. And everybody in the world, you know, there's 7.2 billion people, everybody could put in 50 cents or $1, or high schools could do funding. And everybody throws in a few dollars, and we could actually restore the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. Now, when I say restore it, I don't mean like move the blocks. I mean just put some stucco on it and make it look nice. And because whenever you see it, it looks like it's falling apart. Do you agree?
Right.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. And when it was built, it supposedly had like this white, beautiful marble or rock on it, or quartz or something.
So my whole thing was it could boost the economy in Egypt, and it could also, they could do a 24-hour surveillance on it, so you could see the progress happening as time went on. You know, so it would be amazing. So I thought, well, yeah, maybe that could promote a little world peace. But naturally, I needed some startup money. So I said, well, I wonder who'd be interested in this. So I believe it or not, I have some producer friends who know a couple billionaires, and I emailed Sir Richard Branson, you know, the guy from Virgin Atlantic, right? And I also emailed Elon Musk. Okay, so I emailed both of those guys, and I said to them, my name's Gary Parker. I'm putting together a deal to restore the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. Would you be interested? And just out of the blue, I thought this would be fun if they get back to me. Lauren, the very next day, Sir Richard Branson emailed me back. He said, Gary, I don't know who you... Yeah, it was amazing. He said, Gary, I don't know who you are. I don't know how you got my email address. He said, but I love this idea. He said, I agree with you. We need to restore the Great Pyramid because it's, you know, pretty much the oldest thing on Earth, and we have to take care of it. And I said, that's great. And he said, well, get in touch with... He said, let me know how your progress is going, but I love this idea and I want to be part of it. And I said, that's fantastic. Later that day, Elon Musk did not email me back, but the president of SpaceX, her name is Gwyneth Shotwell, she emailed me back and she said, Gary, Elon and I love this idea. We want to be part of it. And I said, this is insane. How is this happening so fast? So what happened was I emailed her back and said, thank you for getting back to me. I'm doing my research. I need to put a lot of things together, but I need some startup money. And Gwyneth Shotwell emailed me back and said, let us know the number. Let us know how. She said, Gary, this is a big deal. You're going to have to go through lawyers. I said, no problem. I'll put all that together. Don't worry about it. So I thought to myself, well, you know what I have to do? Naturally, I have to do a lot of research. And just because I build some homes doesn't mean you can repair the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, because you have to deal with the Egyptian government, naturally. So what happens is I said, well, before I contact the consulate in Washington, the Egyptian, you know, ambassador, and see what they think of the idea, I figured, look, I have Elon Musk and I have Sir Richard Branson behind me. And they're not really behind me at the time. They never wrote me a check or anything. It's just verbally, and on an email they said, Gary, we love this idea. So I was excited. I said, my God, this could come together. So what I did was I said, well, I'm going to download a couple images from the space station, and I'm going to zoom in on the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx and see where you could put people, because as you know, that's sacred land there. You're really not allowed to touch it or even drive on it, you know, unless you have like a permit or something.
Exactly.
So what happened was yes, it's amazing. So what happens is I download this photo from the International Space Station. Now you have to know that the photos from the International Space Station are taken by an astronaut, like with a 20-inch lens. It's like a Canon camera, and they just take a picture from one of the windows. Okay, so what I do is I download one of the photos and I zoom in on the Great Pyramid. Well, as soon as I zoom in on the Great Pyramid, I see something that looks like writing. I mean, it looked like a sentence. And I said, oh my gosh, those are words, but it's written in a language that almost looked like it was like Aramaic or maybe a Hebrew or a mixture of the two. But I don't know, because I don't know really anything about it. I just Googled it and I noticed that the letters look like that. So what I did was I wrote the letters down on a piece of paper. I took a picture with my phone and I emailed the letters to a couple of Judaic scholars, a couple Aramaic scholars, a couple Egyptologists, and I said, hey, can you guys tell me if this says anything? So, and as you know, all the universities, you can get the people's emails and you can send it to them. And I actually send it to guys who worked on the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
Okay. So, and feel free to interrupt me if I'm running off at the mouth.
No. When I have a question, believe me, I'll interrupt.
Okay, great.
So
what happens is, okay, excellent. So, and not only did I find those letters right beside the Great Pyramid, but I also found just a little off the side of the Great Pyramid, I found some Hebrew. So I wrote down the Hebrew, and I sent it to a Judaic scholar here at the University of Arizona. And he emails me back, and he says, Gary, I know what this says. He said, where did you find it? Well, the one thing is you don't want to tell people you found anything by the Great Pyramid because they'll think you're nuts. Right. But I said I found it in a NASA photo. And he said, well why don't you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we get to what he says, I'm looking at one of the photos. I'm looking at the black and white. That's the close-up of the, and it's quite pixelated, by the way, folks, the side of the pyramid. And what I'm seeing are shadows of buildings or something.
Well, let me, if I can tell your listeners this, can I give them the International Space Station number so they can pull it up on their computer?
Sure, and also in the chat, I believe MJ's going to try posting them either up on the website or the chat room, so people can go there to look at them.
Great.
So go ahead.
The NASA file numbers are ISS 032-E-009123. Let me repeat that. It's ISS 032-E-009123. When you Google that, guys, you'll see a thing come up, and it will say NASA Pyramids at Giza, Egypt. Click on that. Okay. Once you click on that, the photo will come up from the NASA website. What I need you to do, though, in order for you to be able to zoom in, once the picture comes up, scroll down the picture, and you will see a little sign there, and it will say Download Image. You have to click on full size. If you don't click on full size, you won't be able to zoom in close enough. Okay?
Got it.
All right, cool. Was that clear enough?
Yeah, it was clear enough to me.
Okay. So anyway, so just once they download the photo, they have to scroll down to Download Image, and they have to click on full size. Because I've had many people who I've met and shown it to, they say, well, Gary, I can't find it. And I say, well, you have to click on full size. Okay. So anyway, yes. So when I sent this, let me say this too, where the writing is, where you said where the shadows, where it looks like shadows. Remember, from 200 miles above Earth, where the International Space Station circles the Earth, it does. It looks like shadows, But what happens is, I contacted a lady in Egypt, and she's actually the professor of Egyptology at the American University at Cairo, and her name is Salima Ikram, and she's pretty famous. She's been on all the ancient astronauts and stuff. And she emailed me back, and she says, Gary, I see this, but she says I see the letters, but she said there's nothing there in that area that could make those shadows. She says, and if you notice, some of the shadows are going up onto the pyramid. She said, this is impossible. She said, not only that, but she says, Gary, I don't know what this says, but it says something, but you're going to have to give me time to figure it out. That was approximately about a year and 3 months ago that she sent me that email. So since then, she hasn't contacted me. So anyway, okay, so where was I?
You were at, you sent the cipher, but we'll call it that, the cipher next to the pyramid to your buddy that is the, or the guys that were doing the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you were getting
Yes, well, they're not, let me just say this too, they're not my buddies. I mean, I don't know them from Adam. I just sent it to them, you know.
Oh, okay.
But what happened was a couple of the Aramaic scholars and Judaic scholars in the Middle East and in Israel, they emailed me back, and they said, Gary, these letters that are written beside the pyramid are, because I had to eventually tell them it's beside the pyramid. And when they looked at it, they said they're gigantic. If you notice how big they are, they're almost as big as the pyramid itself. But from space, you can hardly see them. Well, they actually said, Gary, and they all said different things, but come down and meet with me? So I said, sure. So I'm only like an hour and 20 minutes away from the University of Arizona. And the Judaic scholar's his name is Dr. Edward Wright. Really, really nice man. And I went down and I showed it to him. And he said to me, he said, Gary, here's my problem. He says, you walk into my office. I don't know you. You may have put these. You may have photoshopped this. And I said to him, I said, you know what? You're right. You don't know me. I said, but first of all, how many people, I said to Dr. Wright, I said, how many people know ancient Hebrew? He said, well, not many. He said, so for you just to show up and show me this, it really is amazing. And I said, well, Dr. Wright, what's even more amazing is this whole photo is a message. And I tried to show him more, but he said, Gary, I can't believe this stuff, and it's just too much for me. And he kicked me out of his office. So anyway.
Well, that's okay. Good place for us to stop because we should take a break right now. But this is very intriguing, and when you get back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this. The whole aspect of people kicking you out of their offices for finding something very extraordinary, because it happens in this community all the time. So don't feel alone, and we're going to leave you with that right now, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes, so stick around. It's going to be a very interesting evening with Gary Parker. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the California MUFON Radio Show. And if I haven't said it lately, folks, I need to say it now. You've got to support your MUFON groups. But there's been so much flap about MUFON this last year and all kinds of crazy things going on. And I hope it's all settling down because, the reality is, where else do you get to go and find a meeting like MUFON has? And I got to say, at the MUFON Symposium in July, the Phoenix MUFON was awarded Best Chapter of the Year. It's a new award. They're starting with MUFON. And the reason they got that award, folks, was because they have almost 200 people a month show up. Anywhere from 100 to 200 people a month show up at their meetings every month. And this is really important because, the reason they got that award is because people are getting the word out about UFOs, aliens, and all kinds of other things involved through the MUFON meeting once a month. So like I say to you guys, please, the only way we're going to make this change, and I talked to Jan Harzen about it at length, is the fact that you guys have got to go to the MUFON website, that's MUFON.com, and become a member of MUFON if you can. I'm not saying everybody's got to become a member, but what you do really need to do is you need to go to your state. You need to find the button that says get involved or whatever it is. Find your chapter, find your state, find out who your state director or your assistant state director is, or whoever lives nearest you. Call them on the phone, email them, do whatever it takes, get a hold of them and say, I want to go to a meeting. We need to have a meeting once a month in my area. If you're not going to hold a meeting yourself, I will do it for you. You guys have got to pick up the mantle. You've got to take some responsibility. You guys have just got to do it. I mean, I can't help you any more than that. I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink it. If you guys really want to find other people who are experiencing the same thing you are, 1 or 2 or 3 of you have got to get together and say, we're going to have a meeting in our town. And just do it, because, it doesn't really take much. There's libraries, there's community centers, there's I live in a senior mobile home park, and we have a clubhouse, and that was where my first meeting in Santa Rosa was years ago. A guy was running a meeting up here, and he had it at a senior clubhouse. I mean, you can have them just about anywhere, and it doesn't cost anything. You can get a lot of them for free, or you can get them for a very small amount like I do. The senior center in Petaluma is where we meet, and I have a deal with them where I give them 50% of the proceeds, and I charge a small fee for everybody to be there. And it works out wonderfully for everybody. So, there's ways to do it. So please, I'm going on at this at length tonight because it's so important to me that some of you start doing something to help propel the UFO community. And also remember, when you guys do this, when you start your MUFON meetings, you can have speakers there that you think have the gravitas in the community to actually say something of importance, You don't have to you won't get shoved down your throat whoever the conference producers have decided you've got to hear. Okay, so remember that. That's what's important about these meetings. I have people show up for my meetings and present that no one knows about. And it's absolutely fabulous. And every month, people leave my meeting and they thank me for bringing in people they'd never heard about before, because they're just so excited. They leave and they're so happy. It's amazing. So anyhow, so that's my spiel to you guys tonight. You've got to, if you don't have a MUFON meeting near you, create one. That's what it's all about. Go to MUFON.com, MUFON.com, get a hold of your district, your state, your whatever representative, and find out if you guys can have that meeting. Okay, enough said about MUFON tonight, you guys. So here we go. Back to Gary. Gary, we were just at the point where you were getting kicked out of the office by the wonderful scholar at the Arizona, was it University of Arizona?
Yes. But no, he was really nice. He's extremely nice. He's extremely bright, and he actually did a great job translating what the ancient Hebrew said. And I really can't say anything bad about the guy. I just wish he would have taken more time to looking at examining the photo, but he didn't, and I couldn't convince him. But that happens.
Yeah, and it happens, and this is what I was going to bring up to you and to everybody else that is involved in the UFO community. This happens all the time with our group of people, whether it's UFO or consciousness or, offshoots of religious aspects or whatever it is that people are researching, or John Mack or Bud Hopkins, any of the guys that did the original experiencer research. You take any of that to somebody who's got a job at a college or a university, and they've got tenure, and they'll run the other directions faster than you can catch them because they don't want to lose their job. And I don't blame them one bit.
Well, that I totally understand. Yes.
Yeah, Michael Sala, who's in the UFO community now and doing quite well with his books and everything, he got kicked out of his position because he pursued the UFO phenomena, and so did John Mack for pursuing, helping the experiencers and dealing with their psychiatric and therapeutic, needs. And so the poor man, he almost got kicked out of Harvard. I mean, it was a big deal. So anyhow, so go ahead. Now we know this poor guy. He was probably just petrified. I don't blame him.
Well, that's funny. Well, what happens is when that happens, and I found the Hebrew and I found the other letters beside the pyramid. What I did was I started looking at the photo, and if I can tell your listeners, please, if you can, look at the photo on your laptop and make the room as dark as possible. Now, it's going to make sense in a minute because you're thinking, well, Gary, why? I have a big screen. Well, because of this. If you look at it on a laptop and you open up the screen as far as it will go, and you tilt it back, what will happen is, and like I said, make the photo small. Like make the photo so it fits right on your screen and you can see everything perfectly. Like almost the shot from the International Space Station. Well, what happens is when you tilt the screen all the way to your lap or to the desktop, you will see. Do you have that? Do you have that ability, Lorien? No.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. Mm-mm.
Oh no problem. Well, when you tilt
not now.
Okay, no problem. When you tilt it, you will see that the whole right side of the photo, the whole right side, which is the Giza Plateau, the whole right side is the left profile of an alien. You'll see his chin. He has a big, thick neck. He has a big, elongated head. Where the
whoa. Okay, now wait a minute. I've got to go. I've got to go look at this. Now, we're talking about the distance photo.
You can look at it from a distance. Yes, make it so you look at it from a distance, and you'll see the whole right side of that photo It looks like sand. It's kind of it looks like gold and sand, and you'll see it's the left profile of an alien. He has a chin. Around his chin, he has a thick neck. Where his nose is where the Great Pyramid is, and then he has a brow, and then his head goes up. It's the whole right side of the photo.
Oh my God, I'm trying to see it. I will get there. You just keep talking. Well, I'm going to find it.
Okay. What's easiest to see? Like I said, if you make the picture smaller, you make it small. You'll see the whole right side is the left profile of an alien head. It's got the huge elongated head, and as a matter of fact, you can see that there's kind of a real bright white road, or that runs all the way from the east to the west, and it runs all the way down. Well, that is his big head, and then you'll come down a little bit, and you'll see a ridge, and that's his brow, where his eye would be, and then the nose is a little pointy, and it comes down. And then his mouth is where you see his round chin there. Anyway,
can you see I see two big gray eyes, and that road is cutting off right above his eyes. Is that correct?
No. What it is?
Oh, darn. Okay.
Okay. Let me ask this. Can you see his round chin? Can you see like a chin there? It's roundish, and then his neck is. Look at the whole. Like I said, make it small. Make the picture small.
Okay, it's small.
And okay, is it small? Now you'll see the whole right side is the left profile. He has, like I said, you see geez, it's hard to explain over the phone. I wish I was there with you. But where his nose would be is where the Great Pyramid and all three pyramids are kind of run along just below his nose.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking at a profile of a... God, you know what? I hate to differ with you. Guess who I think it looks like?
Who?
I think it looks like Nefertiti.
Well, yes, exactly. You're absolutely right. It has that kind of features, nowhere near as pretty. But as you see, he has a real thick neck. Like you see the blue over to the right, you can see the lines. One is like a 45-degree angle, and then it comes down, and they're blue. And then he has like a real thick neck, and then it goes up to a round chin. But you're right; he has a Nefertiti kind of like vibe with his.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. I don't see the gray alien because I'm looking for
It's not a gray alien. No, it's not a gray alien.
Oh, see, there's the problem. I'm looking for a gray alien, and I'm going. I don't see it, buddy. But hey,
no, it's Nefertiti is the one. You're absolutely right. Can you see it at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do definitely now. Now that I got the chin. And the mouth is kind of that row of dark teeth, looks like teeth.
Exactly.
On it.
Well, actually, those are buildings. Yeah, because they built on the Giza Plateau, which they should not do. But you're right; those buildings are like his teeth. Exactly. Then it goes up with a little lip, and then you'll see the Great Pyramid and stuff is where his nose is. It's kind of a little point to it, and then it goes up where his eye would be, and there's a little bump like where his forehead would be, and then his head is elongated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I swear to God, I'm telling you, Nefertiti. I'm telling you.
You're absolutely right. But what happens is he is actually looking at. Can you see where over to the left is Cairo? Can you see where the Nile River is running down? Mm-hmm. It's blue. Can you see it?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. You can. Okay. Well, up above, you can see a thing that intersects it's a road that intersects the Nile River. It's called Ring Road. It's an 8-lane freeway that goes into Cairo. Can you see that? Like it almost it almost makes like a cross. Can you see that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And you can see that the Ring Road when you go now. Just know this too. This picture was downloaded by NASA upside down. So to the right is west, to the left is east, up is south, down is north. Okay.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
But okay, cool. So what happens is if you see where those things intersect, and like I said, it looks like a cross.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's the Cygnus constellation. That's the constellation.
Oh my God, you're right.
I know I'm right. So, and I'll explain how I'm right and how I know all these things in a couple minutes. Okay,
so let's do that because a lot of people are having to imagine this in their minds. So.
Okay, well, what happens is that being, that Nefertiti type head, it's a male though, is looking at the constellation of Cygnus, and if you have it downloaded onto your laptop and you tilt it back, you will see that all the lights on the left-hand side in the city will go out except for one. And it's right at the junction, in the intersection of where Ring Road meets the Nile. And that star is called Sadr, S-A-D-R, and that's in the Cygnus constellation. Now, you might say, well, Gary, how do you know this?
Okay. Yeah, Gary, how do you know this?
Oh, good question. I thought you'd never ask. What happens is after I found this writing, beside the pyramid, and especially the Hebrew writing, after I met with the Judaic scholar down at the University of Arizona, that night when I got home, I had a wild dream. And in the dream, I'm telling you, Lauren, it's crazy. I had this dream, and in the dream, a man's voice says to me, go to the river, stand in the water, face east, okay? Put your hands above your head and say, Abba, 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 Kadosh, 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 L, Kadosh, 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 3 times, and then say, in Hebrew, where did you come from? Where did you really come from? Okay? So, well, first of all, I didn't know what Abba, Abba, Abba. I thought it was, the singing group. I didn't know it was Hebrew.
I was just going to say, I'm ready to start breaking out in song.
I know. So what happens is, it's actually what it translates to, and I had to Google it, is Father, 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 Holy, Holy, Holy. And L was the ancient name for God, okay?
That's right.
And like I said, and this thing said to me in my dream, learn this in Hebrew, go to the river. Now, what's great is there's a river here 4 miles away from me. Now, it's in the middle of the desert, but there's still water, and it's called the Gila River in Arizona. Okay. So I say, well, you know what? This is all, and plus, Richard Branson emailed me back, Elon Musk, Gwyneth Shotwell. I'm thinking, maybe this is some kind of message that I'm being sent for some crazy reason. So I said, I'm going to go down the river. So I go down to the river, I get in the water, I put my hands up, and naturally water, as you know, is the universal conduit between planes, pretty much. So exactly. I stand in the water, and I yell this out. I yell it because it's supposed to be like in a sing-songy, like a mantra. So I do it, and I don't think anything of it. I think, well, okay. And I did it 3 times, like you told me. And I did it in English, and I did it in Hebrew. Abba, 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 Kadosh, 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 L, Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. So I do it, okay? So I don't feel any different. And I yell up. I say, hey, if anybody hears this, let me know. Lauren,
right.
Well, yeah, because I figure, what the heck? This is too wild to believe. Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I want you to finish this part, and then I want to interject a story of mine very briefly.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Sure. So the next morning, no exaggeration, at 5:45 in the morning, and I never get up that early. I'm usually up at 7. 5:45 in the morning, I'm completely covered in sweat. I look at the computer. My computer clicks on by itself. It clicks on to the photo. All of a sudden, I could see everything in this photo. Like I could see the Nefertiti head, the alien head. I could see the outline of Cygnus, which I didn't know it was Cygnus at the time until I met with a couple astronomers. Then what happened was I said, oh my God, I can see these things. So naturally what I did was I emailed a guy by the name of Dr. Peter Warden at the Ames Research Center at NASA, okay? And I said, listen, Dr. Warden, I emailed him. I said, I found this stuff in your NASA photo. It's Hebrew. It's an alien. It's Cygnus. And so not expecting to hear back from him, because I just sent it out of the blue. An hour later, he emails me back and says, send it to me. I want to see it. An hour later, this guy's the president of the Ames Research Center at NASA.
Oh, okay? No. Really? Seriously? You got somebody to respond?
He responded to me an hour after I sent it to him, and this guy's the president at the time of the Ames Research Center. So I said,
freaking way! That part blows me away more than Elon Musk, more than Branson, because NASA is notorious for ignoring us.
Okay, notorious. Okay, but get now. So did I. I said, oh my God, this is ridiculous. How is he emailing me back that quickly? But I said, it doesn't matter. I need somebody on my team so I can tell them what all this means, or what I eventually learned. So he emails me back, and he says, Gary, I can't see it. And I said, well, call me, and I'll tell you how to see it. So he calls me. I said, are you sitting in a dark room? Do you have your laptop? And he said, yes. And I said, now tilt it, and you'll see this. You'll see the letters. And he goes, I see it. I see it. And I said, yeah. I said, Dr. Warden, I said, there's a lot more to it than that. He goes, Gary, I'm going to get back to you. Give me a little time. 3 weeks later, he retires from NASA. He gets together with Stephen Hawking and a billionaire from Russia, and they start an ET company. So what happened was I emailed him, and I said,
wait, they start a what company?
They have a company that they're searching for extraterrestrials.
You mean they have an organization that's like a nonprofit that's doing this, right?
Well, whatever. The billionaire's funded it, so I'm sure he's getting a payday. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, this is very interesting. I want to get a hold of this organization. Anyhow, go ahead.
I'm extremely interesting. So anyway, so what happens is he cuts me off. He never responded, and it's like, so I contacted another guy who emailed me from NASA, and they won't talk to me. They won't email me back. So I said, okay,
right.
I get it. Well, see, I figured it this way. I figured even if I show them all these things, they may already know about it, and they're probably wondering, how does Gary Parker know about this stuff? And so since they cut me off, I just figured that's par for the course. But so anyway, so what happens is after I see all this stuff, I go back down to the river, like I'm going to say 20 or 30, in the past year and a half, probably 30 or 40 times. Okay. Not only did you want to say something? I'm sorry. Am I talking too much?
No. I had an experience, and I'm going to tell you about this, Gary, because I think it's important at this point to bring it up.
Sure.
I was involved in the mind control community very heavily between 2010 when I had, or 11 is when I had an awakening weekend where I was told a whole bunch of stuff by and it was in a download, and it was in like 2 seconds, but it was like a lifetime's worth of information that was imparted to me. I don't know how to describe this to people, but anyhow, it was very interesting. That whole weekend awakened me to the point where I could see things like this. I could always see things like what you're showing us beforehand.
Well, you picked down Nefertiti, which was awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would never... but I would never talk about it with anybody or do anything. Anyhow, long story short, in 2011, I got the call up, as they say. And I was put into service of this, whatever it is we're all doing here. And they basically told me, it was really funny. I was 53 years old when it happened. And they said, we've let you take a break until you're 53. And I was like, oh, fine, good. So anyhow, long story short, I'm now in the service of whatever this is. I ended up in the mind control community, and I was being attacked incessantly by other dimensional forces. That's all I'm going to say right now about it. And I do believe that they tried to kill me several times. And I was trying to figure out how to stay alive because I had no clue. I had nobody training, no mentor, nobody, no help. I mean, you get thrown into this and it's like, it's just, you're on your own. Basically, you have to use every ounce of knowledge of your life as you've lived it so far to get through this. And I guess they only pick the people that have had a pretty extraordinary life, because I got to say my life before this life was extraordinary on many levels, and I've been through some battles mentally and physically that are just, people go, you're still alive, right? And so anyhow, but I was trying to figure out how to navigate this whole community and stay alive while doing it. And I got a hold of Jordan Maxwell. And I asked him on the phone, I couldn't see him in person right at that time, so I called him up. I said, Jordan, I'm in trouble. They're trying to kill me, and I need to be able to do what I do and live through this. And I said, how did you do it? Because I know that he and everybody else who gets involved in this community and starts spilling the beans about the truth is eventually targeted, and they usually try to kill you at some point. And he said to me, Lorien, here's what you've got to do. You've got to go out into the woods or anywhere in nature. He goes, water is best. Okay, I'm just throwing that in. If you can be by a lake or the ocean or, wherever you can be, that's better. But you need to go out there and you need to scream at the top of your lungs, a holy prayer, if you know one, that you believe in, and you have to ask for protection. And I said, okay, sure, right. And he goes, I did it, and it worked for me. And I said, well, what happened? He goes, I can't tell you my personal experience, but you'll know when it happens. And I was like, yeah, right. So it didn't even take 2 weeks. It took me about 10 days. By the 10th day, I went home after screaming a bit in the park area near my house, right on the San Francisco Bay, by the way. I was standing in the marsh. And I go back home, and within an hour, I'm sitting at my desk, and I have an amazing awakened vision of some angels coming to protect me. And that's all I'm going to tell everybody about it, because it is very personal, and I really need to keep that a personal thing. But bottom line is, this whole thing of calling to the gods and calling to God or the gods or your protectors or whatever from the river is very intriguing to me, because that's part of mystical shamanism. Did you know that?
Well, I knew that, I had, since I found all this religious stuff, and just know this, I haven't been in a church or a temple or a synagogue in over 40 years. I'm not a religious guy. I try to be nice and live by the golden rule type of deal. But
right.
But what happened was when I first found this stuff, I said, well, I wonder how ancient man talked to the gods. And so I actually I read this book called The Story of Adam and Eve, and they said when Adam and Eve got kicked out of Eden, the first thing they did was each one stood in a river, they faced east, and they yelled up to God, please forgive me. So I said, well, if that's good enough for Adam and Eve, I should give it a shot. Do you know what I mean? So that's when, after I heard the voice, and I said, and also ancient Egyptians, they used to pray their gods by standing in the water and facing east, because as you know,
that's right.
The Sphinx and the Great Pyramid, they face east because, it's a new day rebirth. So, hey, it worked for me, and I actually think it could work for pretty much anybody if they say the right thing.
I agree.
They're standing facing. Yes, without a doubt. And I think it would just open up another part of their mind that could possibly, so they could see these things even easier. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they do it in India also as part of these festivals they have, where they either get powdered with color or they stand in the water and they all face a direction. It has a lot to do with Islam too,
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that they stood in water. But
they do. On the Ganges River, there's this whole festival. I can't remember the name of it. Darn. But anyhow, gotcha. But then also it bled over into Islam as well, because they have to face Mecca every day, like 3 or 4 times a day.
Gotcha.
So anyhow, but go ahead. This is all fascinating to me.
I know. I'm so fascinating. I can't stand it. So what happens is after a while, naturally, I went and I've met with Orthodox rabbis. I've met with many priests. I've met with an imam here in Phoenix. And as soon as I show them this stuff, they refuse to believe it. They say, Gary, we see it, but I'm not going to believe it. And I said, well, that's too bad. So what happens is after I got cut off from NASA, and after I went, like I said, I've been down to the river between probably 40 and 45 times. And each time I go down there, I see more and more, and I'm shown more and more in the photo. And it actually all has to do with, are you familiar with eschatology?
Yes, I am. I've actually looked into that, but it was years ago.
Right.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with the
prophecy.
Prophecy, but also at the time I looked it up, I was also looking into sacred geometry and the lines on the planet, and I was also looking into cartography to find out sacred places on the planet from Google Map when it first started, it first came out. Anyhow, go ahead. This is all interesting.
Yeah, well, this whole photo and everything inside the photo. Now, just know this: that when you look at the photo flat on, picture it in dimensions. That there was a guy who was the great grandfather of Noah. His name was Enoch. Okay, and he said when he went to heaven, he saw 10 heavens. Well, they really weren't heavens; they were 10 dimensions. Okay, when you look at this photo, this photo has 4 to 5 levels to it. I actually took the photo over to professors of computer science professors at ASU, Arizona State University. And one was named Dr. Gupta, and the other one was named Dr. Whitehouse. Well, when they saw it, they said, Gary, we don't have this technology. That's impossible. That's 4 levels down. The only people who possibly could have the technology to do this is NASA. And I said, well, I have no luck with NASA. And I said, but can you help me to show people that this has so many levels? And they both said, Gary, we're academics. We won't have anything to do with this. And I understand, no problem. But, me, I never give up on, even if one professor or one doctor or one academic says no, I still set up a meeting and I go in and try to show them, because I think I could use as many people as possible to get behind this and to see what it really is.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
And you're not I got to say, Gary, you're not the only one who has seen things within these photographs that we're getting everywhere. As a matter of fact, I got to go back to the first one who did something like this that actually made a world splash, was The Face on Mars with Richard Hoagland and Barra and that gang. I mean, very interesting,
Yes.
You're doing the same type of thing.
I sure am. You're absolutely right. But the one cool thing about this is that, it was taken on Earth. You can see the Nefertiti/alien head profile. You can see, and if people take time.
Daddy, where do
Always a great answer.
To really examine the photo. And when I say examine it, what they need to do is this. If you zoom in to like I said, to the Great Pyramid, and you zoom way in, you'll see did you say you guys are downloading it onto your, so people can see it?
It's in the chat right now. It's in our chat room. You can see it there, and I'm also have it up on my big screens, and I'm going at it from small to large. So Excellent. I've got it 2 ways.
Good. So when people see it, but just know this, like I said, I have been down to that river between probably 40 to 45 times. Okay, on my 38th time, this being that you're seeing, he shows up. I know this is going to sound completely nuts, but this being shows
not
up.
At all. You're talking to the right person for this.
Excellent. So, but see, are you? And remember, too, I'm not real religious, but I had to do, for the past 2 years, since all this stuff is happening, I had to go back and find out, why does this being look the way he looks, and has anybody else seen it? Well, there was this prophet in ancient times. His name was Ezekiel. You've ever heard of him?
Oh, you bet.
Okay, well,
studied him immensely. Yes.
Right. Well, when he saw what he called God, he said he couldn't see God's face. But he saw spinning wheels with eyes, and he saw these things called angels or cherubim with 4 heads or 4 faces.
That's
and
right.
They had wings. They had 2 sets of...
Right. Yeah, the oxen, the eagle, the I can't remember them all now. Oxen, eagle, I want to say bear, but that's not right.
No, it's actually the lion. On the left side's a lion, on the right side's an eagle, and like an ogre or an oxen, and a human face in the front. Okay.
That's right. Thank you.
That's
right.
You
got it.
Well, yeah. Well, come on. I'm living this stuff. So anyway, what happens is, I see, and also they said in Ezekiel that God was sitting on a throne above. There was like a whole platform of crystal. Okay. Right. So what happens is when I go down to the river, and also just know this: I take friends down with me, and they film me with their phones, because I want to see if anything shows up.
Right. Cool. Good idea.
Right. Yes, I'm very smart. So anyway, I'm teasing when I say I'm actually not that smart.
I know, Gary. I'm laughing with you.
All right,
Trust me on this one.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is I'm standing in the water. This thing appears with the crystal platform. This being is not sitting, and it's hovering over the water, and it's not like I can see its face, and it's an alien face, but inside of its face are human faces, but they all look Middle Eastern. They're all Middle Eastern. And everybody's kind of talking at the same time, but nobody's lips are moving, but I can hear voices. And below them are two of these angels. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to find the cherubim or the angel, and his name was Uriel. And I had no idea.
Wow.
I know, it's nuts. It's totally nuts. But what happens, I had no idea. When I talked to me, it didn't move its mouth. And it looked like burned bronze. It looked like metal that was on fire, okay?
Right. Okay, now let's slow down a bit because
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
As we go through descriptions of these aliens or other dimensional beings, I like to call them myself personally, because I have never seen an alien, okay? Like the typical gray reptilian,
neither have I. I've never seen
crossbreed or whatever.
Yeah, I've never seen a ghost or an alien. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen ghosts. I've already seen that, but I have never seen the beings that talk to me. But they talk like you're talking about. It's not like they talk singly at once. It's like there's many voices, but what's even weirder, and tell me if I'm right about this, it's not really sentences like humans talk to each other. It's more like impressions of complete concepts that are imparted to you.
Mine were sentences that had beginning and an end.
Oh, now that's very interesting. I haven't heard that one yet. Oh God, I'm fascinated. Okay, so go further on now, because I'm just fascinated how this is happening for you.
Well, I know it's amazing, but so what happens is I can tell your listeners, and like I said, it's hard to do over the phone, but I can show them where to find the Uriel angel cherubim on this photo.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yes. Okay. If you're looking at the photo, can you see? Now, we see where the Great Pyramid is, correct?
Right.
Okay, and then you go up and you see the guy's brow. You see the guy's brow, the alien's brow? It's kind of a bump?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you see it. And then from the brow, there's kind of a straight line. Can you see? There's like a straight line, and then there's kind of like a little square, and it runs right into Ring Road that comes onto the Giza Plateau. Can you see that?
Oh, the square right above his brow. Yes, I can see that.
Yes, okay. Well, just now, right above that little square is Ring Road. You can see the road where it comes.
Yes.
Where it intersects there with the Nile River. If you follow it, now remember, to the right is west, to the left is east. So if you follow Ring Road west, and then you're right on the Giza Plateau, where it's sandy. Okay.
Yes.
And you can see that right there, kind of the road dips a little bit. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I want you to do, you and your listeners, I want you to zoom in. Let me see. I have it right here, and I'm doing it. 1, 2, 3. Now, I got to move my picture down. 3. Zoom in like 5 clicks to that area. Okay?
Okay.
So it's enlarging. Okay. And now...
I already saw the angel. Is that what we're looking at?
Hang on. No, that would be impossible. Okay, please, don't get ahead of me. Okay. So,
all right.
Well, am I being bossy? I apologize.
That's okay.
What happens is Ring Road is pretty big now. It's actually a wash. It's a wash, okay? But above Ring Road, can you see there's kind of an outline of a property outline with little dots on it? They're like little buildings. Can you see it? It's like a big kind of like almost not a circle, but it runs along that area of it actually backs up to where Cairo is, where you see grass and greenery. And if you go right, you can see there's kind of an outline. Can you see it like of a lot? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see above the road. Right on the edge of the desert.
Yes.
It looks like there's 4 squares in a kind of like a sideways L.
Exactly. Okay. Now, very good. You're very, very good. What I want you to do is I want you to go now. I want you to always look down at Ring Road, right at the top of Ring Road. Okay.
Okay.
And I want you now. Can you see right where the L is? If you go to the right a little bit, you're going to see like there's kind of an outline of a almost like property line. It's like it's a big lot there. Can you see it? And it's kind of outlined.
Yeah.
You can.
And there's a little dark corner and a little looks like an arrow, a little baby arrow with a ball on the end of it.
I don't see that. But anyway, but we are going to the right, which is going to west. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, right along the property line, you're going to see a big head. It's going to look like a head with a neck. And it runs right along the property line, and it almost looks like a distorted Ronald McDonald. Can you see that? It's just a head and a neck.
Head and a neck, and it's along the property line.
Yeah, when I say property line, it actually, the neck starts on Ring Road, and then you'll see kind of like a property line, like an indentation. It almost looks like a little road, and it goes up to the left. It goes, you come onto Ring Road, and then there's kind of a, Lauren, I'm really sorry. This is tough over the phone. It really is.
I know. And that's why most people would not do this type of radio show, because you got to have it right in front of you. But let's say for yucks, I do see it. What am I looking at? And we'll talk about it. You know, you and I off air, we'll find it, and then I'll get it up on my website so people can find it later.
But right where the L that you saw is in the middle of the property. And as you look from Ring Road all the way to the top, there's kind of a property line. You can see it kind of outlines the whole property, like a big circle.
Yeah.
Okay, well, right on the as you go to the right, you'll see just outside the property line, you'll see like it looks like a distorted face. And it has, except for you can't, you know what, this is really too tough. But anyway, if you do this, if anybody who's listening can see it, all you have to do is get your laptop and tilt it all the way back. And when you tilt it all the way back, you're going to see a guy's face. He's going to look like on his right side, which is our left side, like he's wearing a mask on his right eye. Okay, and it looks like he's wearing a wetsuit around his neck. But what happens is, on his right side, he's actually a raven. On his left side, he is a lion. And above him, he's an ogre. But as you look at him straight on, he looks human. That's Uriel.
Wow.
I know, it's insane.
Intriguing.
It's amazing.
Oh, God, I've got to figure that out. You know, we're going to have to get together maybe this weekend, and what I'm going to do, since I'm a Photoshop person, I'm going to help you figure this all out, and we're going to outline it in a pen, you know, a little drawing, and we'll put them up on my website, and we'll have it as a place where people can go to decipher this for you.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. Now, what happened was well, let me just say this. There's a ton more, and it goes down 4 levels and 5 levels. At the bottom level, there's a ton of Hebrew writing. And when I went to the Orthodox rabbis out here in Phoenix, they said, Gary, actually, there's a date here. So I said, well, what's the date? They said July 26, 2022. And I noticed, and as soon as he told me the date, I knew what the date was, because on July 26, 2012 is when this photo was downloaded onto the internet. Okay,
wow.
Yes. So what happened was, on July 26, 2012 was only 5 months away from December 21st, 2012, which was when the Mayans said our world would come to an end.
Right.
Well, our world, yes, and as the world as we know it did come to an end, because this message that's in this photo, I went down to the river after I met with and saw the Uriel and the I'm going to call him God, I guess. They told me that on July 26, 2022, they were going to return. These people, these beings, were going to return. And they're going to land in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount.
What?
This
is the message they gave you?
Yes, but
that's extraordinary.
Well, what was amazing was when I went to the rabbis and they told me the date that they found in ancient Hebrew. What I did was I said, well, wait a minute, that's July 26, 2022. This photo was downloaded July 26, 2012. And then when I said, this means something. So then naturally I went to the river and I yelled up and I said, guys. And actually I say guys. After I do the spiel with the Hebrew and Abba, 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 Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And I don't want to sound like I don't have respect. I do. It's just I'm thinking, well, if they picked me to be the messenger, I'm going to talk the way I normally talk.
Well,
so I yelled up.
So did Moses, so did Joseph, so did everybody else who was a conduit to them.
Yeah, I don't want to think I'm anywhere near as great as all those guys. But they said, the voice came down and said, we're coming back. They didn't say it like that. But the date they're going to return is July 26, 2022.
Well, now is this kind of like the wrap up of everything that's been happening, or is there more since they've given you that date? Have you talked to them since then?
Yes, I have, but believe it or not, since that time, they haven't talked back. And they've never shown up. They only showed up that one time. And I actually did say when I was, and you know how, like, in ancient times, a guy like Ezekiel, he fell on his knees and he couldn't look up at God. I looked the guy right in the face, and I said, this is amazing. I said, this is blowing me away. I was so excited. I wasn't scared at all because I had seen everything pretty much in the NASA photo, and I had talked to NASA, and I had talked to all these other people, and I thought, well, wait a minute, this is something that's really happening. So I thought, there's no reason to be afraid. So when it showed up, I was so excited. It was like I was expecting it eventually to show up. But since then, it has not shown up, and I have not heard any more voices coming from the sky. So
okay, so let's go back to the times you went down to the river and you did call up to the supreme being or the God or whatever it turns out to be, and is it, you said Uriel answered, correct?
No, he spoke first. And remember, they were on a crystal platform, which I said to Uriel, I said, is this a holographic image? Because it didn't look like it was real. It kind of looked like it was like being projected. It's not like that's what it looked like. It actually was going in and out like they were way, way away from us. Like they had to so I said, are the crystals and are those spinning wheels with the eyes, is that so I can see you? Is that, in this dimension? He said, yes. He said, pretty much I'm a pretty smart talking monkey. So anyway, go ahead. I lost my place. What was your question?
So let's go back to the first 37 times. Did you have your friends go with you and videotape you during those times?
Yes, I did.
Did they ever pick up anything on their cell phones? Did they pick up orbs? What did they get?
What happens is my one buddy, he was there, and he filmed me, and you can see in the water is kind of a green, it almost looks like a green spirit thing, and it looks Egyptian. At first it's just like a little blob, and almost like someone dropped some paint into the water. And it gets bigger and bigger. Then it comes up my left side, up onto my shoulder, and it actually looks like Nefertiti. It has like an Egyptian hat on it, and it's a woman. And it's on my shoulders. And how
big is this thing? Is it 6 inches?
No, I'm going to say it's probably maybe 4 feet, about 4 feet. So it runs up my side, up onto my shoulders. Yeah, it's amazing. It's totally amazing. Now, wait.
This is the very first time, or is it get bigger with each time you do this?
No, it was only one time that it showed up. It was only one time.
Do you know what time it was? The second, third, fourth, fifth? What? Do you know which one?
It was probably like the 24th time.
Okay. Right. So this is a few times before the one where you actually made the connection.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so you had made a connection with a spirit being or another dimensional being that's about 4 feet tall, that's kind of greenish, that is in the shape of a woman that looks like Nefertiti, pretty much.
Yes. Well, you can't see features, but she was wearing that kind of hat that you see, or skull cap that Nefertiti is wearing. Same thing, but it's green. It's all green.
It's all green.
It's amazing.
It's more like kind of a smoky kind of figure, is what you're saying. Yes, but you can see it. I mean, like you can make it out. You can. Okay.
Now, I also have to tell you, if anybody wants to Google this, what happened was after I found all this stuff, And there's a lot more to this, a lot more.
Well, let's get into it.
Well, what happened was I actually went down here. There's a small newspaper here in a place called Florence, Arizona. And I met with a reporter there, and I showed him everything, and it blew him away. He says, Gary, I see this. This is amazing. So he wrote a story, and if people can Google it, it's a couple years old, maybe a year and a half or 18 months old. But it's actually Gary Parker and the Garden of Eden. And they can read about how I found some of these things, what I said. But naturally, it's a small paper, so and plus when people read it, they think you're crazy until I show them, like if I sit with you and I show you all this stuff and I show you exactly where everything is, you would say, Gary, I see it. It is a message. I totally get it. But I'm hoping that your listeners and everybody will put this on Facebook and do all that kind of stuff so everybody will see what I'm showing them.
Right. Well, once you and I get the photos up on my site or your site or whatever we're going to do here in the near future, outlined so people can see it. So this is very interesting you're bringing this up because I have a good friend named Larry Rivera who has done this type of thing for the Lee Harvey Oswald non-assassination of JFK. What he's done is he's taken the school book depository steps, and we know that Lee Harvey Oswald is standing on the third step right there when the president shot. The limousine is driving by, and there was a picture taken called the Algen 6 picture, and Lee Harvey Oswald standing there. We've known this for years, and we've been trying to get it out to the community. Just recently, we were able to get a hold of software that it's kind of like facial recognition software that the FBI uses.
That's awesome. That's great.
And we have proven that it's Lee Harvey Oswald standing there, so he couldn't have killed the president. So we're trying to blow apart that whole thing. But in the meantime, the reason I bring that up is we can use some similar software, and what we could do is we could outline what you're talking about and then take a GIF animation and slowly bring up what you're talking about through 3 or 4 slides and make it into like a little GIF movie. Okay.
That would be great. You know, the one thing though is I'm glad that we're talking about this now and you're seeing it now, because what happens is if you do too much CGI, which is computer generated images, what happens is people say, "Oh, well, you Photoshop this." That's.
Oh, right.
And I always and I said to all the academics, and I said to every pastor and rabbi and priest that I met who refused to believe it, I said, because they all say, well, you photoshopped it. And I said, go to the NASA website, look at it yourself. But they all refuse to. So, all of them.
Right. Well, of course they do, because then you're telling the truth as you see it, Then they've got to either go down that path with you or not,
Right. But I told them,
thanks for the honest ones, though. The ones that
yes,
I can't do this because if I do, I'm going to lose my job. That's pretty much what they're saying to you. So.
But I totally understand also that when I show up at your office and at anybody's office and I show them this, it's like a tsunami of information in a 45-minute span. It's too much. It's like, I can't believe this. It's just too much. And so I understand why they say, Gary, you got to get out of my office. I totally understand, and why it also frightens them. But because it is going to be a little frightening when it shows up. It's going to be very frightening because we're not used to it. But hopefully we have almost a little under 5 years to warn everybody, so when it does show up, people won't freak out and jump out of buildings or harm themselves.
Okay, well, let me ask you, do you think that now, I got so many questions now, I'm like burning up here. Okay, we are going to take a break at the bottom of the hour, so I skipped the top of the hour one because we were having too much fun, so that was the end of that one. So, but here's my question, my first question. How religious are these other dimensional beings, and are they truly the angel Uriel, and are they from the Old Testament stories, or are these another group maybe using that as a way to get to you to explain themselves? I mean, how do we know they're for real?
Well, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. In my opinion, because I don't know, I mean, to me it seems real. It all has to do with Old Testament, the Torah. It has to do with eschatology, prophecy. about them returning. I know a lot of people who are Christians and stuff like that. They call it the second coming. This being and Uriel and all the others, they've been here a lot more times than 2 times. This is, they've been here a lot of times. So, to answer your question, go ahead.
Did they tell you they've been here many times, and did they say who they were when they came?
That's a really good question. No, they did not tell me. But throughout history, if you know the biblical stories and the Torah stories, when God showed up, it always seems like it's been every 2,000 years, and everything is on a timer. And when I say everything is on a timer, we're talking about the timer for mankind, and the timer for Earth is the Great Pyramid. It's actually a machine. It still works, and I know how to turn it on. It never.
Whoa! Now wait.
Yes,
you threw something at me that wasn't even part of this whole hour and a half hour conversation.
Well, there's I'm telling you, Lauren, there's not enough time for me to tell you everything, to show you everything. Okay. It would take hours and hours.
Yeah, I understand, but we're going to try to get through as much as we can tonight because I'm just so fascinated about this. It's blown my mind. Okay, so let's go back to the look and the feel of these other dimensional beings. Do you think that they are the hierarchy of the Greys, the reptilians, the other things that everybody else has seen? Do you think that they even are aware of these other alien type forces that come and visit our planet and are actually in the process of controlling our populace? Because the other guys are pretty active with us.
I don't, to tell you the truth, Lauren, I don't know anything about that at all.
Okay, that's fine. So they didn't tell you any information about their part with humans.
These beings, and in the photo you'll be able to see it, they're the ones who created us.
Okay, so if these are the guys that created us, what did they give themselves any hint to you that they might be the Anunnaki?
Oh, you know what? I love Sitchins and I love Von Daniken. I think those guys are awesome. And possibly, but they didn't tell me that. They didn't say that. I don't know what they're called. I mean, I call the guy Abba and El, so and I call Uriel. I only know him by that. I don't know, and I never asked him, are you guys the Anunnaki? I never asked him that.
Right.
But these are in the photo, and I can show you exactly where it is. And hopefully one day I get to meet you and we'll sit together. In the photo is actually shows how mankind evolved, and then they came along, they added their DNA, and the furnace of creation is in this photo.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
It's amazing. There's 4 levels to this thing. It's insane. So
wow. Okay.
I know.
Let's great. Go. Let's see. Keep going back to your encounter with them because I'm finding that really fascinating. So you're describing the same thing that Ezekiel saw from the Old Testament.
With 2 less. He saw 4 angels. I only saw 2.
You only saw 2. Okay.
I only saw 2 wheels, and I saw the platform that was made out of crystals, and then I saw the head being, which we'll call Abba or El, standing there, and he was alien. He had an alien face, but inside his face were all human faces. But the human faces, were men and women. They weren't just men and women. They all looked like from ancient times.
Okay, interesting.
And when I say ancient times, I'm talking about prophets.
Right. Very interesting. Right. Okay. Do you think, I'm going to project this out to you as something to think about. Okay. You know what? We're going to skip the break. MJ gave me permission, so no break tonight. Sorry, guys. Sorry, all our advertisers, but this is important stuff.
No, if you need for advertisers to break, we can break.
Oh no, it's okay. It's a MUFON ad, and I did a big long one for him tonight, so we're good. Okay. So let me ask. So you're seeing prophets within this alien whatever God's face. I need to know what his original face looked like, sans the human faces within it. Can you describe it to us?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I actually drew you a picture that I sent you, I emailed to you, and you'll see there's an alien face, and it's actually his profile. You'll see his face, and that's what he looked like. Do you have it on your?
I'm trying to find it. Is it in a separate email than the pyramid pictures and the? It
could have been. Yes, I actually drew his picture, and I can send it to you again, no problem. But I drew his picture, and he's a classic. He's a classic looking alien.
Well, describe. I don't see the email. I haven't gotten it from you that I know of. So
okay.
But go ahead and start describing.
I'll resend it. But as you look at his profile there, like the big head. And then he has the chin, and he has a little nose, and he has like almost like kind of like a human face with the eyes and stuff, but he's 100% human, but 100%, I mean human. He's 100% alien, and but when I say alien, he's millions of years more evolved than we are, okay? And they were like us millions of years ago. So we are going to evolve into this. Yes.
Okay. So did he have regular shoulders and a regular chest? And what was he wearing?
Yes. As a matter of fact, very good question. He had big shoulders, big chest. He actually was wearing a kind of like a plate, like when the ancient Hebrews or Israelites would go into the Ark of the Covenant to see the Ark of the Covenant in the temple, they would have to wear a breastplate. And I can't remember what it was called, but it was different colors. He was wearing one of those.
That's right. Yes. I forgot about that.
Yes.
And I finally figured out why they had to wear it. I wonder if you've got this information from him. I figured out that they had to wear it to dispel the electrical charges that were happening on the Ark. It was like a grounding rod, but on their body.
Right, exactly. Raiders of the Lost Ark, same thing. I totally agree with you. But he also wore a kind of a yellowish reddish coat that went from all the way to the floor. So I could barely see his feet. The feet didn't look like human feet, but they were kind of plus they kind of melted into the crystals. It was almost like he was coming out of that. And remember, like I said, they didn't look like flesh and bone. They were kind of like on fire. They were kind of like bright metal. But the thing was they didn't, and they also, it looked like a holographic image. It didn't look like it was like I could go up and stand on the pedestal with him. So it looked like a holographic image. Yes. So
like it was being projected through that place in our time space.
That's right.
In front of you with a 3-dimensional look to it. So if you had walked behind it, it might have been flat, is what you're telling us.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Yeah, something like that. But plus, I was in the water, and they were hovering over the water. And they were big, too. It was like, I'm going to say Uriel was probably, I'm going to say between 15 and 20 feet tall. The main guy, El or Abba he was even bigger. He was huge. They were huge. And what was funny, though, is I'm where I go to the river down here at the Gila River, it's probably maybe 500 or 700 yards off the road. So no one could ever see it. So I was wondering, I wonder if anybody sees this. You know what I mean? So what happened was I asked them, I said, can anybody else see this? And they told me, no one else will be able to see it or hear it. And I said, well, that's not good for me. I said, I need some help with this. I said, everybody's shooting me down. And they said, this is your job. You do what we tell you to do pretty much. So,
You know what? I got that same message. They kicked me back. They took me to this place of amazing light and love. That's the only way I can describe it, which is going to my next place I want to ask you questions about. When they kicked me back, they said, you've got work to do. And we gave you a vacation, so now it's all going to come to you like, you're not going to be able to do anything else the rest of your life, basically. So it's a full-time job now. So, anyhow, I get that feeling because it's like you don't have a choice. It's like it just suddenly, now you're on a mission from God, basically, like in the Blues Brothers, and you don't get out of it,
Right.
I can't explain it to anybody unless they've had it happen to them. And finally, I found a compadre in this you.
Well, the whole thing, that when it all first started out in my mind was when I first started to think about world peace, and I thought about restoring the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx, it kind of all tied together. And so somebody had said to me, well, Gary, does it feel evil to you? And I said, no, it feels the complete opposite. It feels like a father to their sons, if they get along, and it feels really warm and friendly and nice and like anything's possible. But no matter how it feels to me, when it shows up, it's going to be terrifying because, hopefully, like I said, because no one in the world has ever seen it before. So hopefully people seeing these images on the NASA photo, and when they, like I said, eventually when you and I get together and we can maybe make some of the images come out even more, people will be less afraid, and they'll be looking forward to it showing up.
Well, I got a feeling that you're probably in the right community trying to get this out and it understood as what's happened to you, because I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised to find that like a good 85% of the contactees, there is a small percentage that are very adamant that their critters are the only critters out there, I call them. And there's a huge contingency of people that believe there are very higher dimensional beings, including God and angels, that are part of the alien scheme of things. Because really, that's what they are. They're just other dimensional beings as compared to, us. And yes, they are our creators, and yes, they did seed us and they make us, and but they're at a very high vibration. They're not even at the solid vibration of the reptilians or the Greys and the Nordics and all the other breed of cat of alien that we've got visiting our planet and communing with our people here.
Right.
So,
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I want to tell you and the listeners too. We were talking about the Great Pyramid. Everything on our planet and for mankind, it began, it ends, and it begins again in Egypt, okay? So, and like I said, if they examine this photo, they'll understand. Now, the Great Pyramid, because a lot of people have said to me, well, Gary, how are these images that are in the sand around Egypt, are they still there? Like, when did they start, when did they show up, okay? Like the letters and Uriel and all that. Well, what happened was the Great Pyramid, it works on. It's not only solar, but it also works on vibration. So it made all these images actually in the sand, and it uses the sunlight so they'll appear. And by tilting your laptop, that's how you'll get to see all the levels in the images. And you might say, well, Gary, how did it create it with vibration? Well, what I did was I went back to 1999 and I pulled up all the Egyptian road department has pictures from their satellite whenever they do road work on the Giza Plateau or on Cairo. So I went back to 1999. So I started looking at the photos to see if I could see any of the images, like Uriel and the letters and everything. Well, I couldn't see them. So I looked 6 more months later, and all of a sudden I noticed that the writing and stuff was all the way at the top of the screen. It wasn't beside the Great Pyramid. So every 6 months I pulled up the satellite image, and the letters started moving closer and closer and closer. So like an old cartoon, if you flicked all the pages from 1999 every 6 months to 2012, the letters and all the images were being built, and they ended up at 7:21 a.m., July 26, 2012. It was all right there, perfect. It was like these beings knew exactly when to take this photo, or that when the photo was going to be shot.
Well, of course they did, because they're other dimensional. Okay. They know everything as it's happening in their time space.
Well, now
I'm going to throw this at you because I'm a big time travel buff.
Yes.
I think that these things are pre-planned in other dimensions to happen at certain times here to awaken certain people to certain things.
Okay, go ahead. Let me just say this. I understand what you're saying, but let me tell you this. If you remember, I told you what the profile of the alien, the big profile. He's looking at the Cygnus constellation, correct?
Right.
Right, where they understand. Okay, if you tilt your screen like a couple inches up and some of the lights go out, what it does is it shows the constellation Cygnus, but it also shows other constellations all over in other universes. This being has thousands of planets just like ours in different times of evolution. They have thousands of planets, and they manage thousands of planets. And on these planets, each one has a Great Pyramid. Okay, they know from doing this for so many times with our evolution, they knew that we would have a NASA program, that someone would be going over there, that they could have the pyramid vibrate, make these images, and they knew, because they have done it thousands of other times, that this picture would be taken. So it was so they can't go back in time, and they're linear. But they have done it so many times, they knew how we would evolve. Now, I think that the vibration of me standing in the water, I think it was the Great Pyramid that sent me the message that night to look at the NASA photo and find these things. So I think everything's connected to the Great Pyramid, and also the water that I was standing in. If you draw a circle from the Great Pyramid all around the world, latitude and longitude, it crosses this Gila River.
Oh, you're kidding! Oh, that's really cool. So it's like it's like a ley line for the pyramid.
It's like a connection. Now, but I think I'm a couple meters off. But I think the river eventually hits one of the lines. Now, I'm not an astronomer. I'm a real estate guy. But I naturally, you can tell I've done a lot of work on this stuff. And so yes, it all kind of comes together, and it all has to do with the Great Pyramid. It really does. Now, if I can tell you, did you need to say anything?
No. Well, I've got about 5 more questions for you. So let me see if I can get to them really quick.
Go ahead.
So back to this other dimensional being. Did his mouth move when he spoke to you? You said no earlier, correct?
No, it did not.
But he did speak in sentences, and they were English, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And did he let you get a word in edgewise? That's always a good question.
No, because that's a really good question. I actually said to him, I said, listen, I said, this is amazing. This is great. I get it. You're the creator. It's awesome. I love it. I said, but you have a head, you have arms, you have a chest. Let me say this too. His arms and his hands were huge. I said, and he did have fingers and stuff, but they didn't look real human. They were actually bright red and stuff, so it was hard to see if it was skin, which it probably was. I said to him, you're a biological creature. Who created you? There was no answer. So, I don't know if I pissed him off, but because I haven't heard from him since. I mean, everything went good after that, but he did not answer that question. Because my question, as you know, I've dealt with Harvard scholars. I've dealt with scholars here in Arizona, biblical scholars, and a lot of them say, Gary, we don't believe God is a physical person. We believe he's spirit. He's a spirit. Well, that's what I always thought. But and I said, you guys might be right, but the person who created us isn't a spiritual being. It's biological. It's made of cells.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you on that, but I think what you were seeing was more of a holographic projection of what could have been a real person, maybe in another place altogether, maybe from a ship. I mean, who knows where that image was coming from?
I can actually show you the ship in the picture. But
my God! So he was on a ship.
Why, sure he was.
How interesting.
I know. I can show it to you, but it's telling you over the phone and trying to tell your listeners over the phone is really hard.
Yeah.
Really
I totally get that. So you're saying he was on a ship projecting his holographic imagery to you, and you were the only one that could see it.
Right. I can actually show you the ship. Yeah. But now, when I say ship, it's not like what you think of a ship. It's not like the Day the Earth Stood Still, the old one from 1951. It looks more like the ship from Keanu Reeves, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Do you remember that? Did you ever see that one?
I can't remember what it looked like. Oh,
okay,
yeah,
it was like a huge globe that was constantly spinning round and round, and it looked like it was 5 or 10 dimensions all spinning at the same time.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha.
Yes, that's what I can show you in the photo. So.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go back again, back to our alien dude, God. Or now you said there were 2 angels. What did the angels look like specifically? What did they look like?
Well, if you read Ezekiel, that's exactly what they look like. They had the 2 sets of wings. They had eyes on the wings. They had the spinning wheels beside them. With the eyes on the wheels. Exactly what Ezekiel saw. They actually had the feet of what do they call hooves? Like hooves. They didn't have human feet. And yes, and they what's it called? And Uriel actually, I had seen him before in this NASA photo, so I knew what he looked like, and I also referenced Ezekiel, so I was not worried when it showed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you go.
But okay, so we got 2 angels, and their names again. You got both their names.
Well, no,
right?
I only got the one name. So he was the only one to talk to me. So the other one was just flapping around there. When I say flapping, they would flap. It was everything was like in synchronicity. The wings would flutter. It was like everything had to be done at a certain time in order for the image to project. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And in Ezekiel, he said they moved to the right and to the left. Well, these didn't move to the right, so if they stayed in one place, but their wings did go up, they flap, one to the side, and it was everything, almost like it was a generator generating this image, so I could see it.
Wow.
I know. I'm telling you, Lauren, it's insane. And when you tell people these things, they say, well, who the hell are you, Ezekiel? Well, no, maybe. I don't know. Maybe if you believe in reincarnation. But, it's like, oh, my God, it's so hard to tell people because if they don't see it themselves. But then, and I'm sorry I'm skipping around here, but then when I go back and I show them the NASA photo and I show them the profile of the alien, then I show them Uriel in the photo and I show them everything else, the letters beside the Great Pyramid, then they say, Gary, you have something here. You're right. You're not lying. You're not making this up. So.
Well, yeah. See, the problem we've got is like all the experiencers that are coming forward these days, and yours is a very interesting experience because you're dealing with very high dimensional beings, and I absolutely believe I'm dealing with like I've told everybody on the show 1,000,000 times, I've never seen an alien that I know of that I can remember at all, and the only thing I can equate my connection with anything is angels, because that's all I've ever felt my entire life, and that is what my grandmother said she saw by the crib in the hospital when I was 18 months old and almost died. Nice. And that's where that all comes from in my family. Of course, I was raised Catholic, so angels are part of Catholicism. So, technically, my alien is an angel. Okay.
Well, just know that in this photo. The angels, which there is a section of angels right behind Uriel, actually. The ones that are cherubim that have the 4 faces are the only ones in this photo that have wings. Everybody else, there's no kids that have wings. There's no adults that have wings. Only these guys who have 4 faces. That's all I've seen. Now, like I said, maybe I can't see everything. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. My angels that were sent to me do not have wings either, which is very intriguing. I've never said that before here on the show, ever. I've just said they were angels, so I just assumed everybody thought they had wings, which is fine with me, but mine do not have wings. So, not that I've ever seen anyhow. They do flutter around, but they don't do it with wings.
Like I said, hopefully one day we'll get together or work on this with your buddy with CGI, and you'll be able to bring it out, with
it's not that difficult to do, actually. I could probably teach you how to do it in an afternoon, but because you're not really you're not doing the facial recognition software and all that. All you're doing is you're outlining the area in the photo, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take an overlay of another color that's transparent and lay it over it so people can see the shape. That's all you're trying to do. You're not trying to actually prove it's prove it's not Lee Harvey Oswald or it is Lee Harvey Oswald.
Absolutely not.
But, yeah.
Now, if I could just tell you one last thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we got a few minutes left. I got a couple more questions, so go ahead.
Well, did you want me to give my, because like I said, I do have an email address.
Yes, let's do this before the show ends because I always I run out of time. So tell everybody how to get a hold of you to share their experiences too. Oh, okay. Well, now, should I give you my email address? Yeah, go for it. Oh, yeah. You're it. Yeah. They can feel free to email me at G, as in Gary, G.Parker, Parker, 36, Gary, Gary, at AOL.com. That was G.Parker, Parker, 36, Gary, Gary, at AOL.com. And I would more than be happy to send them the photos and also the drawings that I made and all that kind of stuff. Wonderful. And also, I just want to let everybody know, I promised Gary I'd help him with this, so we'll try to get this stuff up on my website in the next week or two so that Gary, when he ever goes on other shows or, emails you guys, can eventually say, either I have my own website or Lorien has put this up on a page on her site that's, separate. So yeah, where you can go and you can store your stuff there if you'd like. I don't have a problem with that at all. That's awesome. And so that people can see it. Yeah, because I think it's really important they're able to look at it while you're describing it on the show. Absolutely. I wish I could sit with each one at a time, and but that's really hard to do. So Yeah, but eventually you'll be able to do this, and as long as they have a place to go on the internet, it'll be really smooth sailing for you. So anyhow, I want to go back to the vision. Now, did anybody capture anything on their cell phones that was with you on that actual day? And what was the person with the cell phone trying to record this for you's experience? Did they know anything was happening? No, not at all. I have had other people come down, because I said, look, you have to come down the river and say these words. But what happens is people get really weird about that because some of them are religious, some of them aren't, and it really scares people. So no one will go down to the river with me. I'll do it. Well, Laura, listen to this. I actually had an elected official at a small town here in Arizona, and he read about me, Gary Parker, in the Garden of Eden that he Googled, and he said, Gary, can I meet with you? I said, sure. So he said, Gary, I want to see it. So I showed him everything. He's a mayor of a small town, and I showed him everything, and he said, Gary, do you think that the water here in the Gila River is a healing water? And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I don't know. I said, because I never tried it to heal anybody. So he said, well, my son's dying of pancreatic cancer or liver cancer. And I said, well, what are you saying? I said, if you want to take him down to the river here and give it a try, I'll do whatever it takes. I said, if I can help, let's go down and try it. So he said, let me talk it over with my wife, because the kid only had like maybe 4 weeks to live. And I know, it was horrible. And he called me the next day and said, you know what, my wife doesn't want to do it. And he said, we don't think it's right. And I said, okay. I said, I understand. I said, but just know, I'll if you need to, you can use my truck. We'll go pick him up, and we'll take him in his medical bed down there, and we'll lay in the water, and we'll yell up, and we'll see if anything good happens. So I haven't found anybody who will go in the water with me, or maybe see if they could heal. Who knows? Yeah, it's very interesting. I will definitely, we'll talk off air at some point soon, and I would like to bring my camera guy. I've got a new tech guy that travels with me to these kind of things that I'm doing. Because I am going to start a new website type of site where I do memberships, and people who are members will only get to see these amazing things that I go out and I do adventures of. Well, I hope if you bring the camera down, it shows up. I would love that. Well, wouldn't that be interesting? And even if it doesn't, even if the camera can't see it, if two of us were having the same experience at the same time, that is so much better than one person. And I'm going to give you a quick example. this year at Contact in the Desert, Melinda Leslie, Misha Johnston, myself, and another friend of ours, Tana Newberry, went out with a group of 60 or 50, it was 50 some odd people, to do a night vision sky watch out at Giant Rock. And luckily enough, there were 62 of us out there when an F-15, 250 feet over our heads, came flying over, chasing a secret space program Black Ops ship. Somebody can describe it. It certainly wasn't an aircraft that we know of. That's for sure. It was escorting it through airspace. And amazing. All of us saw it, you know. But, of course, it didn't make national news. No one cared about it. MUFON didn't even care about it, I hate to say. And nobody cared that there were 62 witnesses. But it made a big difference to me because then I finally realized something. I thought, well, shoot, if this many people can see the same thing, because this is extraordinary. I also knew it was man-made because 62 people saw it. That was the other point to this. Usually when there's a craft up in the sky, you can have 30 people standing on the ground, all looking in the same space, and only 5 of them will see the craft.
Wow.
Because the other 25 can't see it.
Yeah, like I said, I've never seen a UFO or a ghost. This is this is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me, and I couldn't be happier. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. Once you're an experiencer, you get to carry that with you forever. But the problem is, all of the other experiences out there will tell you, if you're the only one having the experience, no one ever believes you, and it becomes a real. Even your family, they look at you and they go, "Oh, don't bring that up again." It gets to the point where it's like you're gonna.
Well, luckily for me, I luckily for me, I have the NASA photos. So
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? And as I look at this photo, I'm telling you, I'm seeing so many more things. So you and I definitely have to get together and talk about this because
there's a ton of things there. There really are. There's so much you wouldn't believe. Like I said, it's amazing. And if I can point it out to you, you will see it and you'll say this is a message. And they are returning. So there you go.
Well, now this was going down the other vein of what I wanted to ask you. Besides the total description, which I needed to clarify who you were dealing with. Basically, for me, is you're dealing with, like I said, very high dimensional beings that are considered our gods of this planet. Like you described, did they tell you that we're one of thousands of different universes that they manage? Did they tell you that?
Yes. Yeah. He did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And
I had that feeling. I figured we weren't the only one with a Great Pyramid. That's impossible. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go to the Great Pyramid. We have a few minutes left, so let's talk about the pyramid. Now, you said every planet that they manage has a pyramid-type structure. Do you know? Did they tell you if ours has been destroyed and rebuilt many times? Because that's my feeling.
No. But I can actually tell your listeners how to see the people who built them. This being here, they work with a lot of other races and alien races, and I can actually tell you how to see them, to see one of them anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
It actually. Are you familiar with a guy named Rudolf Gattenbrinks? Did you ever hear of him?
No, I've never heard of this person.
In 1997, the Egyptian government wanted to put an air conditioning unit in the Great Pyramid because it's very stuffy in there. Okay.
Right.
So what they did was they hired Rudolf Gattenbrinks, who was a German engineer. He built a robot, and there's the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. Well, in the Queen's Chamber, there's a north and south shaft. And
I know about that. I watched that whole TV episode where they put the little robot in and it went through all the shafts.
National Geographics, exactly.
Yes.
Well, in 1997, because the National Geographics did it in 2002. Okay. Rudolf Gattenbrinks in 1997 sent a robot up there with a camera at the end of it, and he noticed that there was a 220 feet up the southern shaft was a limestone block. Now you got to remember, it's 8 inches by 8 inches is the shaft, and on the block were two copper hoops. Okay, and which blew everybody away because copper hadn't been invented for 1,500 years after the Great Pyramid had been built, supposedly. You know what I mean?
Right.
So so everybody was up in arms. What is this? What's going on? So what they did is in 2002, this guy named Zahi Hawass who was an Egyptologist who ran the Antiquities Department of Egypt.
Yes.
We
know all about him.
Okay. Well, what happens is he got National Geographics, and they put another robot up there, and they drilled a hole. Well, when they stuck a fiber optic camera into the hole, which had a light on at the end of it, they took a bunch of pictures, okay? Well, in the pictures came out 10 years later, and you really couldn't make them out, and their experts said that those pictures were marks, and they represented numbers, like feet or cubits from where the shaft starts and where it ended, which actually added up to 220 or something like that.
Right.
Well, what happens is the pictures that were taken, if you look at the pictures, when you look at the pictures, you will see, you zoom in on them, like you can go to any site and pick up the pictures from 2000, actually they came out in 2011. When you zoom in on the pictures, what happens, you will see that those pictures have a binary code. The binary code, which in most computers on Earth are zeros and ones, which open and close. This binary code are all zeros. When I took it to Arizona State University, and the professors, Dr. Gupta and Dr. Whitehouse, saw it, they said, well, Gary, that's impossible. There's no ones. I said, it's not impossible because it's always open, and it's alien. It's alien technology. It's a new binary code that's over 6,000 years old. And they pretty much told me to get lost. So what happens is one of the pictures.
Yeah, go ahead. The show's actually over, but let's keep going.
I'm sorry. I go on and on.
No. We're recording it. I want to do another few minutes, and I'm sure MJ's fine with it. I want to hear the end of this, so go ahead.
Okay, what happens is when they took the pictures, it took them 9 years to release the photos. They took them in 2002. They released them in 2011. Zahi Hawass and an expert said that the photos that they took were workers' graffiti and marks that represented feet or cubits, 200 feet, 20 feet. Well, what happens is because I had been down to the river and I had asked to see everything, and I do see everything. If you look at, you'll see the numbers. So when you Google the show and they show you the photos. Under the number 20, you will see, if you look at it, you make it small, you make it big, you use a magnifying glass, you be in a dark room, use your laptop computer, you will see that in the photo, there are three people. It's a man, it's a husband, a wife, and a little boy, and they're sitting in a crystal throne. And they're flying over a crystal city of pyramids. The whole city are pyramids, and they're all crystal. And what you'll see is that, now listen, this is really fun, and I can actually send you a picture that I drew of it, and you'll compare the picture to the photo. Okay. What happens is the man is about 8 feet tall. They're sitting in a throne. He's sitting in a throne. He's wearing like a large pope hat, a mitre hat. You've heard of those?
Yeah.
Big white. Okay, in the front of the hat is a huge crystal. Down by his forehead on the hat is a small crystal. His son is sitting on his right shoulder, and he has his right arm around his dad's neck. The woman and the little boy has his left leg draped over his mother, who's sitting beside the father, over her left shoulder. And she has her left arm holding his left leg. I have this all drawn. I'll send it to you. And they're in a crystal throne, and behind them is a thing called a Djed pillar. Do you know what a Djed pillar is?
No, I don't.
Okay, in ancient Egypt, from Ptah, Sekhmet, and Nefertem Ptah and Sekhmet were the creator gods. They always were represented with a thing that meant power, was a pillar that kind of looked like it had ridges on it, and it's called a Djed pillar. And actually, the project was called the Djedi Project. That's what the National Geographics, when they filmed it, it's called the Djedi Project that made the robots. Yeah, it's amazing. But what happens is the three people sitting on the throne, in this throne that's flying over a crystal city of pyramids, they are the creator gods, Ptah, Sekhmet, his wife, and Nefertem, his son, who's sitting on his shoulder. And the kid actually is wearing a small pope hat or mitre hat. And the woman is wearing she's wearing kind of like a Nefertiti type hat, and she has a round crystal on her forehead, on the hat.
Wow. Very interesting.
It's amazing. I'll send it to you.
Now, Okay, this has just been probably one of the most fascinating shows I've done in a long time, Gary. I really want to thank you for getting a hold of me and asking to be on the show, because this has just been extraordinary. I'm sure it's going to lead to a lot of people getting a hold of you, and I'm sure there's many other experiencers, as I call them, that listen to my show that have had a similar experience, if not the same experience, because I do have some extraordinary people listening to my show. And I know that the experiencers out there that have found out about my show, because I always talk about how there's so many types of contact out there, and that mine have been angels and blah, blah. So I do know that those people are listening that contact this higher dimensional group of aliens that are here, that created us and are our gods, as we want to say. So I hope they do find you.
Oh, sorry. Do you remember the movie Close Encounters?
Oh gosh, I just saw it this week again.
Oh, the third time, yeah. Well, in the movie, not only Richard Dreyfuss, but there were other people who were contacted, but they couldn't make the connection. They couldn't get up to the. I think I'm one of many that have been contacted, but I don't think they made that connection by going in the water. So I think that's my only difference, that I made this more of a connection. I think though that it sent out a signal to a lot of people, not just me.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. So anyhow, well, we'll have you back again, Gary. I promise you that. And everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week on the California MUFON Radio Show. Good night, everybody.